this is a very production-focused talk, and it's a story of an experienced game team with a new game studio, and how we've changed our approach to development from how we used to make games. So, just a little background about myself. So, I started making games around 11 years ago. We started in PC, and then in the last 4 years, I was doing casual games at at a studio called Boomzap. So we started doing like hidden object games. We did some match 3. Most of our titles used to be downloaded on portals such as Big Fish, and then we've been transitioning to mobile, and then started with a couple of free-to-play games. This year I left and started a new studio in 2003, and along with the change of studio and having my own company is also revisiting some assumptions on how we made games and kind of tweaking them to match like what the environment is now to make games. So anyone who's been hearing about startups recently probably all heard of the Lean Startup Approach by Eric Ries. It's a very good book, and if you're starting a company or are making a new product right now, I recommend a thorough read of it. It's something that's been very useful for us, and even though it's not something that, it's not canon, it's not something that you follow by the letter, but it's more of a way of thinking on how you do your production. And okay, so the book says the definition of startup is a human institution designed to deliver a new product or service in conditions of extreme uncertainty. And as all of you know, like if you're making games, like there's always a condition of extreme uncertainty. We've never had an experience where the game we thought we had at the start was the game that we ended up with, and especially when you're doing updates, live services, like you're always testing and you're always tweaking. And before, when we're making casual downloadable PC games, like development stopped when you ship the game, it was downloaded. Maybe there was a patch for some bugs, but we never did any sort of live updates to it. So when you transition to mobile and games as a service, that whole paradigm changes. And for me, like a definition of a game is a piece of software designed to deliver an entertainment experience in conditions of extreme uncertainty. So now, when you have a game, it's almost like you have a hypothesis of how to entertain the player, and how do you prove that? What do players really like it? Are they going to like it? And if they don't, what are you going to do? So there's a lot more tinkering involved and going to your market early, or at least who you think your market will be, and because of that, your product will change very often. Okay, so here's the core feedback loop that comes with the whole Lean Startup approach. So build, measure, and learn. And the key to this is that you are doing this in small steps and not doing like an entire full-featured product. Most of you are probably familiar with the MVP, the minimum viable product, and that means that when you build, you don't build something, you don't build the entire game. You build something that you think, like probably a couple of minutes of gameplay, just enough to get it in front of the player and see, is this something that they will like? Is this something they will play? Are the controls intuitive, initial controls? Is the theme something that people can relate to? So this is something that you can prove out with probably just a few weeks or a month or two of gameplay, depending on the genre you're in. So for us, the game hypothesis is two things when we were trying to figure out what our first game will be. So we divided it into two and looked into several different themes of what we wanted to do and what gameplay genres were available. So when we were starting the new studio 4 months ago, we said that we weren't going to create an entirely new genre because that was too risky for us. So we wanted to make a game in an existing genre and just add something new to it and combine that with a theme that was familiar, but it like evoked nostalgia, but it was a theme that's also new. Okay, so the game's name is Run Run Super 5, and it's a take on like the whole Super Sentai series that was popular in Japan, probably in the 80s and early 90s. So there you have a team of 5. They have their vehicles, and the vehicles form the robot. And before we actually tested this game in front of players, we tested the theme. And how we just did that was we had a Facebook page, and we did we just did a sponsored post. So we noticed, so we had a big image, we sponsored the post, and we noticed that the organic reach was doing really well. So we paid something like $60 to just boost the reach to see like if people would engage with it more. And what we found out was that paid reach was 55,000 people, 665 actions, so either click or like or share. And so for $60, we reached just a shade under 60,000 people. And we thought like, okay, I think this team is strong and it's something that we can proceed with. So after that, we proceeded to create a vertical slice. And what you want with a vertical slice is that you want a very polished experience, but it doesn't have to be a long gameplay experience. So for us, it was pretty much probably like 2 minutes of gameplay. And the way we did the running was that, so you had an endless runner, so there's a ranger just running there, and then they would hop into a vehicle, and then the vehicles would vault into a robot and fight the monster. So kind of following the theme or the genre of the shows that were popular before. So that was what we thought it would be, like a kind of linear experience where first you ran, and then you came to a vehicle, and then you vaulted into a robot. And we took that to Casual Connect Singapore 2 months ago. So we got a booth, and just what we wanted to do was to push it out in front of people and see how they would react. Observe people while they were playing. We already had some analytics embedded to it. You won't really get too much data out of just having a few players play in the booth, but at least you can get things like how far did they go, what was a session like, if they died, where did they die. So I think at this stage, more than the analytics, it was really the observation that was more important. We tested it in random people, we asked a lot of developer friends, we took a lot of notes, and we just tried to see what the general feeling was for the game. Yeah, so for analytics we had Swerve enabled, and yeah, so when we talk to people, you find out that you find out what's wrong with the game, and everyone tries to suggest something. What we found out is that it's better to listen to the problems, not the solutions, because the problems will come up over and over again, and you'll get many different types of solutions, and a lot of them will be like directly opposed to each other. So the solution is really up to you, and usually it's just a combination of what you're hearing combined with your own gut feel and creativity. But at least the problems, like when people keep bringing up the same things all over again, and I'll tell you in a bit like what we found from our testing. You really see very early on what needs to be changed in your game. So by this time we were, I think, 10 weeks into the company. So after 2.5 months, we had vertical slice of 2 minutes of gameplay, and here are the results that we got from Casual Connect. So the theme was very well received. People liked it. It was fresh. The artwork was really loved by the players. They liked the cartoony artwork. It wasn't like too 8-bit, which is like a little too prevalent now. But there was a confusion in the game structure. So we had some cool stuff like the vehicle mode and the boss mode, but the first 30 seconds is that, oh, it's just another runner. So a lot of people actually like stopped playing or closed the app before they even got to what differentiated the game. So that was the #1 problem that we faced. That like, if you're here for Daniel's talk earlier, he said that like there's so many runners, there's so many games in this genre that if they see another runner, they kind of tune out, and if they don't know what's unique with it. So that was a problem that we faced, and so when the team got back, we brainstormed for a way to show what was different first. So we ended up changing the structure of the game, where in the first 30 seconds, we'll first do a tutorial of your robot fighting the monster. So when you do the first minute experience, it's actually not running. And when you do that, people are like, okay, this is different. So you do the fight, you do the tutorial, and then after the tutorial, bad guy throws a bomb at your robot blows up, ranger ends up on the ground, and when you're on the ground, you have to find your vehicles again, so you start running. And then we set up a world map so that there will be level-based progression. So now, when you're doing the running, you level up according to certain goals you have to meet. And the bosses will be at certain levels. So there'll be a level 3 boss, level 6 boss, level 10 boss. And so that's now our current theory. So we're actually polishing it up now. And the next step for us is to test that again. So, so with our testing, what we're going to do is that we're going to put it up live in a single market in Google Play in the Philippines. Now, why the Philippines? Well, apart from the fact that we're there, Philippines is a good place to kind of check your gameplay without really going into monetization. The players in the Philippines really don't monetize too well. It's a bad place to check, to buy IAPs, and so you can't really test monetization metrics, but you can test engagement and retention metrics. And for now, where our game is polished, probably 40% content complete, we just wanted to check the engagement and retention metrics before building out the rest of the game. So, what we're looking for when we're live on the Google Play Store is that we're looking for some base metrics. So retention is 40% for day 1 and 20% for day 7. So as I said, we're not looking for any monetization metrics at all. And we have to buy some ads on Facebook to check if with real users who aren't like fans of our game on Facebook to see how they would react, because you can get like beta testing program, or you can get your fans to go into the game, and it's good for functional testing, but they're probably more invested in your game, and they're probably going to retain better than the average user. So now, as I said, we're around 40% content complete, and at this point, it's kind of hard to project the future because we're putting that up on the Play Store, and we don't want to commit to doing the rest of the game until we're sure that it retains properly. So if it does, great, we'll create the rest of the content. But if it doesn't, we'll stay there and tweak and tweak and tweak and test again until we get the metrics we want. So now we're probably doing the opposite of what a lot of people are doing here. That we're doing Android first. We're actually built in Unity, so cross-platform, easy to do. But iterating for us is really very fast when you're operating in Android first. If you want to update on the Play Store, it's very fast. You can do it instantaneously. And so if this is successful and we continue with the rest of the content, so the next step for us would be to do a monetization test. So go to the usual test markets, probably New Zealand and Australia, and test the monetization there. And then do the soft launch, and then worldwide. We're probably going to do one platform first, probably Android first. Since we're based in Southeast Asia and we kind of know the market a little better there, we think we can do well there with Android. And after the Android launch, we'll go for iOS. So now we're probably almost 5 months in as a company, and next month is when we'll be doing the Philippines launch. So this is a continuing story on our part, and there's still a lot that we're learning as a new company, even though with an experienced team. So the story is by no means complete, but here's where we're at right now. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah.
How many members in your internal development team?
So we have 10 people in the development team right now. Apart from usual coders and artists and designers, we have an in-house data analyst and an in-house product manager / community manager. So since the game's not out yet, he's doing more of like social media, just building a fan base. But when the game is out, he'll be focusing more on revenue. Yeah.
I have a question about your theme testing.
Yeah.
So I see what you're trying to do, but I'm trying to figure out how what you did proved anything from using the lean.
Well,
I mean, so there were a bunch of people who clicked on that ad, right? But wouldn't you need to test like 3 or 4 other ones and then see what the relative performance was to get any learning from that?
Well, I didn't really, we couldn't find out like how to do comparative testing for that because we didn't really want to try out like a bunch of different themes. Like, so what made the most sense for us at that time was just like, is this theme that we want to do, that we're going for, will it work or will people engage with it? So I think for us, like if people didn't really engage with that ad, I think we would have really probably rethought the whole theme.
Did you have some benchmarks for engagement that you
no, we didn't know what to benchmark it with. So it was just that we saw that people engage with it positively, and we thought that it was something we could go with.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So to piggyback off that question, what was the call to action that Facebook had? And like when you put up this vertical slice on the Philippines store, they're only getting that 2-minute experience?
No, the 2-minute experience was when we were at Casual Connect. So when we go to Google Play Store, there's probably like, well, if you play it continuously, probably an hour's worth of gameplay. No one really plays runners for an hour, so we're thinking that there'll probably be like a week's worth of gameplay there. So that's also why we're not looking at 30-day metrics at this time. And as for the ad, we were really just trying to see what kind of engagement would happen with it. So we were only looking at like would people like or share or yeah, just share it with their friends, because there was no real click to action. Like we wouldn't have anything for them to download. Yeah, so we didn't do that.